Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to, I always want to call this magic moments. And they are magic, but we are actually here with wild moments. And this afternoon, we are joined by the fabulous, the fantastic Mr. Ben Coley. Hello, Ben. Tell us your news.
Hello, hello, Kelly, and hello, everybody else. They are indeed magic moments. Very excited to see what has been happening over the last week or so. But yeah, I'm all good. Wonderful to be back. Been very busy traveling to some wonderful places, doing a lot of sky stuff and seeing some new and exciting areas, and including a trip recently up into Tanzania, which I have to say was incredibly memorable, but nice to be back and certainly to be back here again.
Awesome. Sky stuff, hey? That sounds exciting. Wasn't there some sky stuff happening last night? Or did that turn out to be an April Fool's thing? Didn't something launch?
That was no April Fool, although I did wonder about it because these things do tend to get postponed. But no, it was actually early hours of this morning for us. The Artemis 2 rocket is on its way to the moon, taking astronauts up there to orbit the moon, not land, on this particular trip, but the first time that we will have been to the moon since 1972. So yes, the launch went off without a hitch, and I actually posted something today where you can actually follow the live positioning of where the rocket is on its 400,000 kilometer trip. So check it out if you haven't done already.
That's quite a long way, and I wonder what they will be bringing back with them. How exciting! I'm glad that's not it wasn't an April Fool because there was a few floating around yesterday. Okay, before we get into it, who have we got joining us today? We have got Ons Negro. Good morning. Good morning, good afternoon, good morning, whoever you are, wherever you are. You are all very welcome. I hope you are all settled with coffees or iced teas or whatever else it is that you have in your hands. MG Leopard Spots, hello, thank you very much for being here. You are all ready for the show. Oh, golly, you had a 4.6 quake shake you in bed last night in wow. Okay. That's hectic. I hope everyone was okay. I'm not entirely sure how big 4.6 is, but if you felt it in bed, then it must have been pretty substantial. I hope everyone is okay over there. Anyone else that felt that? Casper's third ghost. Hello, Casper's third ghost. Good morning to you. You're saying afternoon, Ben Kelly, and everyone else. You are enjoying hot coffee from a sleeting and icy Milwaukee. Blech, not my thing. Brr, your teeth are chattering. I think mine would be too. Casper's third ghost. Dean. Now, is it? I think it might be Dear NC. Ben, how would you say that? DEAH.
Put me on the spot, why don't you? I'd say DNC, but I don't know.
Because I've just realised for quite a long time, I think I've been saying Dean NC, and I'm not entirely sure that's correct. So if you are still
No, it's
there,
definitely not an it.
Dear, no, Dear NC, if you could confirm pronunciation, I faithfully promise to not get that incorrect again. You're joining us from Seattle. You've got a hot cup of coffee, getting ready for the show today. It's a pleasure, I'm sure, from both of us, Ben and myself, for giving your time and knowledge. We love watching these clips. You never know what these cameras are going to pick up. April Owl, good morning, everyone from a rainy Connecticut. Hello, April Owl, raspberry iced tea by your side, and you are happy to be here. We are happy you are here too, April Owl. Gordon J, you're saying hello, Ben, Kelly, and fellow enthusiasts. Hello, Gordon J. Thank you very much for being here. I think let's get stuck into these clips, Ben. We have some crackers today, I think. So I think let's roll with the first one. I think from the hide. And let's see who we've got. Oh,
Oh, it's one of my favorite animals. These things are so funky. These little spring hares, mini kangaroos in the drier regions of Africa here. Not often we get to see them here in the Lowveld, but I've seen a few on my travels and they always bring a smile to my face.
no,
Look at them bounce.
that is so cool. I see, now. Mm,
Oh.
oh, oh, uh, oh. Ben, would you like to discuss what's going on here, please?
I think just a bit of a back scratch. Let's leave it at that. But interestingly, what I assume would be the female on the right. when she rolls over, which you would see as a submissive thing, he seems to get a bit confused. But I have never seen attempted mating of spring hares, let alone actual mating. So that's very interesting.
I'm this. I see. Someone just said, "What? I'm speechless."
One assumes he is analyzing the urine. I wonder if her lying down is basically, I'm not interested in what you're doing.
Um,
Because he keeps, I'm assuming, doing the rodent equivalent of a phlegm and grimace, or at least analyzing
see, look.
the urine there.
Now it looks like he's probably rolling in that scent. Maybe I'm not entirely sure. It must be it. It must be male female. I can't think of what other behaviour that would be. I wouldn't even be able to tell. I wouldn't be able to sex spring hares. I haven't seen many of them at all. I don't know if it would be a size thing. I don't know how many opportunities you've had to decipher male or female between spring hares. And this looks, how interesting is this, Ben? Look, there is almost like they're mirroring that behaviour.
Hmm. I agree with you. I think he's probably rolling in whatever she left behind there. But it certainly looked like courtship behavior for to some extent. But yeah, I have never sexed a spring hare. As far as I know, there isn't any dimorphism between them. I couldn't see an obvious size difference between what we assume is a male and a female there. But oh, fascinating stuff that you wouldn't otherwise normally get a chance to see.
No, I've seen spring hares. I've only had a chance to watch them. I saw them in Medicway. There's a specific area in Medicway where we used to. It was far from where I was though, so it was a long way to go and look for some spring hares. But I haven't actually spent that much time with them. I think I've got a couple of sightings in the Kalahari. But again, that sort of behaviour is dark. Even if we were present,
Mm.
I certainly wouldn't want to put a spotlight on those animals, and we just don't get an opportunity to watch it. So what an absolute pleasure! But I can only assume um, it's a courtship behaviour, it's a mating behaviour, it's a sexual behaviour. Um, the standard sort of toing and froing we see between males and females, trying to establish whether or not um, the females are sexually receptive. That's that. I'm taking a stab in the dark. The grumpy old man.
I
You are
would
saying
assume
they
so.
will be bringing back lots of frequent flyer miles.
I
Uh-huh.
assume he's
Uh,
referring to Artemis and not the spring hares there.
well, I would assume so, but yeah, I'm surprised they. I'm not. Are we allowed to comment on that? I'm not sure if maybe they should have held off the price of fuel these days. Yesterday was probably a terrible day to launch a spaceship. Jean
They
Gale,
probably filled up beforehand.
do you think they filled up beforehand? I would hope so.
Panic buying.
Jean Gale, hello from the foothills near Seattle. The internet is on, the coffee is hot, and the dogs are sleeping. What a beautiful situation for you to be in there, Jean Gale. And JJ, you're asking, are they monogamous? Um, are spring hares monogamous, and how does their family work? Oh, before I go to that, Dion C. There we go. Dion C. I will never forget that again. No more Dean NC, but DOC is how you pronounce it. Ben, monogamy in spring hares. I don't know them well. I don't think they've got a particularly tight sort of complex social structure. I wouldn't have thought they were monogamous, but I could be wrong. Do you know anything?
I don't know much about them, having not really worked alongside spring hares often, but as far as I know, they're generally considered solitary. I believe they have their own burrows, which are generally inhabited by a female with some young, which are born once a year. But it's one of those things because they're so clandestine and secretive. I don't think there is a huge amount of research done on them. But as far as I know, they are generally considered solitary animals, but evidently they get together for mating when mating is required. But I don't think they live in family. Well, I'm pretty sure they don't live in family groups with a male and a female and a bunch of little spring hares in a hole. I think the males probably do their own thing and just actively seek out females when the time is right.
I would be inclined to agree that, yeah, normally the lack of family unit is often symbolic of the fact that those pairs aren't monogamous. But JJ,
Mm.
have a dig around. We're not 100% sure. But I love that phrase, Ben. Clandestine hares.
Mm.
That will that word will forever be associated with hares in my brain now. Mindy, you are saying this is the most active you've ever seen these creatures. I agree, Mindy. Very, very rare opportunity to observe them. Bridget McKinney, hello to you too. And you are agreeing with Ben. Yes, that was Artemis. On Negro, the spring hare looks like a cross between a rabbit and a kangaroo. Ben, you mentioned those kangaroos. They definitely have characteristics of kangaroos, I would say.
Yeah, well, ironically, they are a cross between a rabbit and a kangaroo. Yet, as far as I know, they are classified as rodents. So they're a very strange thing. One thing I would like to mention, because there is a very cool thing about spring hares that nobody really understands, and it's considered to be just a genetic whoopsie, if I can call it that, is that they actually have biofluorescence. So they glow under UV light, this weird sort of reddish pink color. And nobody really knows why. I did some digging on this a little while ago, thinking, well, maybe it was something to do with predators, but most of their predators wouldn't see in ultraviolet. But it's become one of those bucket list things. I want to find a spring hare and under controlled kind circumstances see this biofluorescence. So it's something in the fur apparently that reflects UV light, but it's generally considered to be an oops moment rather than being used for anything, as far as we understand.
I think that's utterly brilliant. JJ is saying you would love to
Hmm.
see a baby spring hare. Kirsten has very kindly given us some pictures of some baby spring hare in our chat. Anyone, I would strongly suggest you go and find an image of baby spring hares. And if you can find one that's glowing pink, I had no idea about that, Ben. That is fascinating. I had no clue. But I definitely think I really need a glowing baby spring hare. In my
They
life,
kind of look a mixture between a cross between a chipmunk and a mogwai. I've decided. The old Gizmo, the gremlin.
don't feed them after midnight, hey, showing my age. Okay, enough with glowing lagomorph rodent cross mixes. Let's move on to, I think we've got some elephants for our next clip. Oh dear, don't shout at the ducks.
I
The
seem
ducks
very
didn't
unsure
move.
about those ducks.
Oh, is there a tiny baby behind them? Or is that just a random dangly bit?
I think there is a
No,
small one there. I don't know how tiny it is, but it's interesting. Not the first time I've seen elephants being very put off by something as potentially unthreatening as what look like white-faced whistling ducks. But look at them giving them such a wide berth. It's just something unusual that they're not. Yeah, there is a little one there, but something that's just making them uncomfortable.
I find that so interesting. I was actually just thinking about it today, how much time I've spent watching animals in the wild, and how even sometimes after thousands of hours, I'm not sure of the reason for this. And those, to me, it must be they can't literally be afraid of ducks. That wouldn't be logical. But the way I would look at it with dogs is something else has happened. There's been an incident elsewhere. Something's given them a fright, and it's just made them a bit more overcautious of everything. What would you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know it's been documented with elephant treasure. I saw this clip the other day, but it's very old. But this whole idea of elephants being afraid of mice, and they did some experiments, and every time they ran it, or this experiment, every time a little mouse popped out, this elephant was, "Whoop, what is that?" and became very uncomfortable with it. So I can't believe that they're afraid of mice or ducks, but I think it is just, yeah, possibly movement that they weren't expecting, or as you said, maybe something had happened previously to make them particularly nervous. But it's a weird to think that a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 ton animal would potentially be nervous around a few ducks.
Although Tomo has just made a very good observation. Maybe he's Tomo, he, she, Tomo, whoever you are. Is it because the ducks didn't fly away? Maybe that is what you would expect. You know, they, I don't know, we don't quite know how they think, but if an elephant normally approached a bird, it would fly, and that's what happened. The same way as animals can get used to the movement of vehicles and the sound of the vehicles, and then if you know bring an electric vehicle into the mix that's silent, it's just not doing what they would expect it to do with the sound and the movement. So maybe it is because the ducks didn't fly away. It's something novel. It was something confusing. But
I don't know. Maybe the ducks are really close together and looked like something else. But I think I've seen young bull elephants. I've seen them throwing sticks at things like herons and storks and spraying water at them. But I don't think I've ever seen one that's been so perturbed. I kind of got the impression that those elephants came through the tree line, saw the ducks, and everybody slammed on the brakes, and they kind of all bumped into each other, trying to figure out what was going on. So maybe the shape of the ducks all together made them think of a crocodile, maybe, and something lying on the bank if they've got a young one with them. They all look like quite small elephants or younger elephants.
mm,
Maybe it was a first time mum who got a bit of a fright and she wasn't sure. And as you said, something to do with the calf being there.
very interesting. Mr. HUAE is confirming your white-faced ducks. And Kim, you are asking, can some animals have phobias? Yes, absolutely. Whether or not it's would be classified in the same human way as a phobia, but the same as I always revert back to dogs. The same. Some dogs have very severe noise sensitivity. Some are scared of fireworks, some aren't. Some are scared of or get upset when they're left alone. Some don't. Is that classified as a phobia in the same sort of way? It's a
Do you
little
not
bit
think that
difficult.
sort of thing is based on past experience, though? Do you think,
No,
I mean, I know you know a lot about dogs and dog behavior. Are some just more sensitive, or do you think when they were young they had a bad experience that then caused them to develop that phobia?
no, it's definitely it can be both. It can be both, but it can definitely happen completely at random, even animals from the same litter. So I would imagine it could be the same in a group of elephants. Even animals from the same litter, one dog might develop thunder phobia and the other one doesn't. It's genetic, it can be predisposed. So I would imagine, Kim, it would be the same. Maybe some elephants would be more afraid of some things than others. It's an innate behavior, it's not necessarily a learned behavior. So Kim, I would say 100% yes. Some animals can have phobias or be more, it's difficult whether we want to call it a phobia because we don't really know what's going on in their heads, but more or stronger responses to things than others. I 100% think that. But yeah, very strange from our elephants there. But let's carry on. We have some of my favourites to watch. I do very much enjoy watching these. We've got some vervet monkeys at Moella.
Lots of vervet monkeys.
Mm. I really enjoy watching these clips. I never quite know what's going to happen.
I feel like they're sort of an audience watching something. I'm
Yeah,
waiting for
there's
the.
something occurring
They're all
somewhere.
looking at something. They're like meerkats.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued to know what they're looking at. The impalas don't seem to be too excited by whatever's going on.
Oh, what's in the water?
Oh, swimming birds.
They're swimming. Are they are they
Maybe
crossing
these
or are
ones
they
are on.
doing it for fun?
Oh, I think they're crossing. Maybe they're on sentry duty for crocs. Hmm.
See, you don't. How many times, Ben, do you recall seeing monkeys swimming? I've in a sort of wildlife scenario. I've seen monkeys and baboons in pools a couple of times. But how many times have you seen monkeys swimming in the bush?
Yeah, very rarely, but so most of the time it's obviously pretty dry out here. I would think in areas where there are more channels that it does happen, but no, I was just actually thinking when I saw that, have I actually ever seen a troop of vervet monkeys swimming across a channel, maybe on TV, but I don't think I've ever seen it in person.
No,
But
me
it's a bit
neither.
different if you've got big rivers and deltas as opposed to just individual waterholes.
I'm inclined to agree. I don't remember ever seeing that before. I've seen them messing about in people's swimming pools when it's very hot. Um, but JJ is asking, is that super risky for them to swim? Ben, your thoughts?
Well, yeah, crocs, I guess, is the potential danger. Whether a croc would worry too much, but it's one of those. I think the first and the second one will probably be okay. But if a whole um, troop is crossing, then that's what they normally say with crocs. That the first or second time you come down and repeat a behaviour, the croc is sort of watching and learning. And by the time you're number three or four, you are beginning to be in danger because the croc's figured out what's going on. So I see no reason that a croc, the ultimate opportunist, wouldn't take a vervet, but I don't think there's any other things they would need to be too concerned about. But yeah, it would be great to see a whole group crossing like that.
Yeah, I've not also. I don't think I've ever seen it. JJ, um, I agree with Ben. Possible risk of crocodiles. And I'm just trying to think, would they be strong swimmers? I'm looking off to the left, trying to imagine a vervet monkey body shape. I suppose they'd be okay. But yeah, I've never seen it before. Amy 8879 is saying, wow, Zygote is saying great crossing. And JJ, it's amazing how animals don't need to learn to swim like humans, because animals are awesome, JJ. That's why it's very instinctive, and I'm sure our human lives could learn a lot from them when it comes to instincts. But fascinating seeing that. Vervet monkeys crossing the channel. Okay, we have one last clip for today's show. It is a crocodile at Ulusaba. It is not the crocodile at Ulusaba, who I have become slightly
Bubbles.
obsessed with. Have you met Bubbles, Ben?
Not in. I'm aware of Bubbles, but no, I've not met him. I have been to the saga a few times, but I have not met Bubbles in the flesh, shall we say.
Have you observed Bubbles on any clips?
I think so in the past, yeah, but I believe this is not Bubbles. So maybe
This
Bubbles has some competition for camera time.
maybe Bubbles does. But yeah, absolutely fascinating behaviour from that Bubbles. But let's see who else we have got in the water across at Lusaba. Wow, that's a lot of fish.
Hmm. That is a lot of fish.
And look, there's one on. Is that one doing the nibbling thing on that crocodile across the sort of middle section that's furthest away
That,
from us? Look at it
yeah,
nibbling.
possibly. That's probably some algae or something growing on the scales or the osteoderms or the skin of that croc. Which are amazing how much. There's one of the things I like about waterholes. We tend to see waterholes here and we say, oh, there's nothing happening. But underneath the surface, there's so much going on. I remember when there was a big mass die-off of fish at one of the dams in the sands. We think from yeah, a deoxygenation event, and there were thousands and thousands of fish that had floated to the surface
Look, look,
that
look,
you
look,
just did
look.
not realise would be there.
No, it's.
Everybody's panicking now.
I remember that. I actually remember that die off, and there's so much that happens beneath the surface, and look how they're all jump. If he had a good grab there, I'm sure he'd get a few stuck in his mouth.
He must have got some of that. I guess it really is the quite literal shooting fish in a barrel, almost just chomp as you're swimming.
Look how many of them there are.
Hmm. It'd be interesting to know what moon phase this was taken at, because fish are generally more active close to the surface at full moon in seas because of the stronger tidal forces that are bringing up food from the depths. So it would be interesting to know whether there's any similarity in a smaller water body that obviously isn't affected by tides, whether it's visibility of the fish being able to see whatever it is they are eating. But yeah, that's a lot of fish.
No, it's amazing. Let's see if we can't find out when that clip was actually from. It was about a week ago. So what moon phase are we in now?
Well, it's
Uh,
full. It was full moon basically yesterday or the day before, so it would have been about half moon. So that scuppers my theory about full moons. But again, um, I don't. Yeah, I don't really have an explanation of why half moon. There must have been possibly in response to all the rain that we've been having recently. There must have been possibly a maybe a big hatching of some insects that had been laid in the water that had encouraged all those fish, depending on what they were eating, to be so active.
and Ben, we've got an opportunity to, just before the end of the show, we'd like to show you bubbles.
I would love to see bubbles. Yes, let's
I
see
think
bubbles.
I would love to hear your thoughts on bubbles if that's possible, Kirsten, because I'm slightly obsessed. So let's see if just before the end of the show. Okay, I'm not going to say anything. Take it away, Ben.
Right, then I have not seen bubbles like this. Wow, okay. He seems to have a massive hole in his stomach.
Trish and I rambled on this plenty. Give us your thoughts.
I, well, my initial thoughts would be that he's probably a puncture wound from a hippo's tooth, would be my first thought, but quite, there's obviously it's like a collapsed lung, I suppose. This must be linked to the lung. I don't know exactly where a crocodile's lung would be, but now it's not opening and closing. It's like a blowhole of a whale. I don't have anything, Kelly, to be honest. I'm guessing he blows bubbles through that. I was aware of bubbles, but I did not know that he had that.
Look, 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 look. Watch, 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 watch.
Is that an extended or distended part? Huh? Wow. Okay. Yeah, well, my assumption would be that the skin has been punctured and it must be something to do with inhalation and exhalation, that part of the lung is popping out of the hole that's been made there. I don't know. What did you and Trish come up with?
We did nearly an entire show. I think we only saw 1.5 clips for half an hour. Um, Pretty much the same. But look, look, look. Watch, watch, watch when he dives. Watch.
It's like a life jacket.
Have you ever seen anything like that?
No, I've never seen a crocodile with a hole in its side with something as distended as that.
We pretty much came up with the same sort of scenario, which is quite nice to have it corroborated, with no prior setup. But I think we
Weird if you
came to
just
the
turned up in
conclusion
the water hole and saw that.
yeah, let's get in and squeeze it. Let's not. Um, but yeah, we came up with a similar sort of conclusion that we don't think it was a bit of lung, because surely that wouldn't work.
No.
But
Really.
yeah, some sort of puncture. I think the consensus it was. I think because we discovered recently that Bubbles has got a massive chunk of tail missing as well. We were originally pondering whether or not the hole could have been from a buffalo horn, maybe, but then when we saw missing tail, we started to think maybe that could have been a hippo. Jen Lat 38, Bubbles is indeed absolutely fascinating. Oh, and Montenegro is saying you really enjoy the IR lights that we're showing of that fish. That's very, very cool. But yeah, we we were also somewhat mystified, impressed, and fascinated by Bubbles, Ben.
My brain is whirring because I don't think crocodiles have diaphragms. So I agree that can't be the entire lung popping out. So maybe there was yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Weird and very cool, and hopefully not painful in any way for Bubbles. But yeah, I have never seen anything like that before.
Apparently, that injury's been around for quite a while. He's been living with it. I've heard the time frame 10 years thrown around. So if you are ever in that area in the coming future, I definitely think you must go and see if you can meet Mr. or potentially Mrs. Bubbles.
I'm actually going to the Sands next month, so I'll see if maybe I have the opportunity to swing past.
I think that would be a brilliant idea. Um, yeah, I'm glad you came to the same conclusions, but we're pretty much out of time for the show today. Absolutely fabulous clips. I think my favourite was those spring hares. Not often you get to see that. But Ben, thank you so much for joining us.
Great pleasure. Thank you for having me, and lovely to catch up with everybody again. And yeah, absolutely, I agree. The spring hair was just a cool thing that you don't often see. And I'm also sorry if I sound distracted. I'm still processing potential bubble injuries.
Bubble injuries. Yeah, it's fascinating. But thank you everyone so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. Please do drop in again soon. But in the meantime, take care. Bye bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye bye.